Blow your load to this one. This is Vladislav with Ammo Pool.
Reload.
Fast-paced beats that'll rub you the right way, hopefully. You're listening to Shake the Cock on EdenSynth. Woohoo! Yay!
That was Ammo Pool by Vladislav. Okay, so remember the time when radio shows were worth tuning into? Yeah, me neither. But that's why EdenSynth is here, folks. Our tunes are like, and let me just get the press release that the boss wrote, sweet chocolate laxatives, just the kind of thing to help get rid of the crap that other DJs are clogging up your ears with. Sorry, So let's start off with a bit of TweakerRay with a track called Zorin.
least worst electronica tunes in town. Right here on EdenSynth.
I hope you enjoyed that one, folks, or at least tolerated it. That was Zorin by TweakerRay. Up next now is Lee Jackson with Interstate 30.
Can you tolerate electronica? You came to the right place. You're wasting your time listening to Jake the Cock on EdenSynth.
Listening to Interstate 30 by Lee Jackson. I gotta admit, that was a pretty bloody good track. Our next song is Animated Inanimate by Agent Ataraxia.
listening to EdenSynth with Jake the Cock.
You've been listening to Agent Ataraxia with Animated Inanimate. Now, recently, your old happy DJ, Jake the Cock, yeah, funny, yeah. Anyway, I learnt a very important lesson, folks. Whatever you do, if you ever go to those nightclubs around, yeah, don't try and taste those funny-looking mints that you find on the floor. I mean, tempting it may be, of course. I mean, I tried that only last week or so. It might have been last week. It could have been last year for all I know. I was hallucinating pretty hard, and I ended up beating a pack of ostriches to death with a hammer. Well, since my lawyer's not here, we'll just play some more tunes. But we have a track by Mike Norvak, at least. He's a talented guy. Prepare yourself for a Nova collapse.
Can you tolerate electronica? You came to the right place. You're wasting your time listening to Jake the Cock on EdenSynth.
That was Nova Collapse by Mike Norvak. This is EdenSynth, electronica songs, synthwave, and so much more. This is Jake the Cock here on EdenSynth, and, I've been hearing reports of some bloke going around EdenSynth strapping cats to assault rifles and emptying his bladder on the local populace. You know what, all I can say is good for you, mate. Good for you for sticking it to the man, being who you want to be. You know what, I'm going to dedicate a song to you. I hope everyone takes an example from this guy, because quite honestly, I'm sick and tired of, ooh, that's not legal, or ooh, that's not politically correct to punch someone and blast him in the face with a shotgun with a cat attached to it. I tell you, America sucks, man. Anyway, prepare yourself for a trip back to the past with this next track, so keep your eyes on the road as you soak up these tasty retro-style beats by Vashima. This is Surveillance of the Mind.
Least worst electronic tunes in town, right here on EdenSynth.
Now, I'm feeling a bit nostalgic after listening to Vashima's synthlicious track, Surveillance of the Mind, and I hope you are too. Up next is the Crescent Heights Slasher by Ectoplague.
No pop, no rock, just cock. You're listening to EdenSynth with Shake the Cock.
That was the Crescent Heights Slasher by Ectoplague. Now, unlike other shows out there, here on EdenSynth, we actually play music that doesn't sound the same all the time. It's a hell of a feat, and quite honestly, we're kind of proud to know that. Well, maybe the bosses, but I don't know about me. Either way, at least we got good tunes. Glad you came along to listen to your old friend Jake the Cock. If you're wondering why I sound like this, it's because I'm not paid enough to pretend that I care about this job. In fact, I don't recall ever being paid at all. Now, EdenSynth is home to a very peculiar theme park, and that theme park will actually be hosting a live radio DJ mixing session by none other than TweakerRay. So, if that sounds like the kind of thing you'd be interested in, great, because it also seems that Crotchy himself will be there, the lovable phallic mascot, and he's going to be performing some songs alongside TweakerRay from his upcoming EP, Sperm Bank Robber. So, if that tickles your fancy, that rubs you the right way, then be sure to stay tuned for more details. But for now, though, time for a new song. This is John of the Shred with The Hunter Becomes Prey. You'll be listening to The Hunter Becomes Prey by John of the Shred, right here on EdenSynth. So I got a question for you folks. Do you ever listen to the radio while, like, on the toilet? I mean, I know Mayor Mike J specializes in his selection of bidets, but honestly, I don't see the appeal. It's not like you're going around with one of these things strapped to your backside anyway. I mean, really, who needs one? Basically, if you're in need of a brown strike and you got to clear up the backside, just buy a water gun with some washing up liquid and then, well, you know, just blast your booty hole with it anytime you want to keep it clean. Or if it's deep stains that are causing problems, just mixed up with a little bit of bleach. To be honest, if anyone wants to try this out, please get in touch. I'm genuinely curious to know. This is probably the most exciting thing that I could ask anyone out there on this radio station. Alright then, so time for some more music. Do you want to take a trip to hell through the river Styx but you can't afford the fare? Well, there are two solutions. Either you can have sex with the Grim Reaper for a free pass. I mean, this is how I managed to get this radio station job, and quite honestly, I regret it deeply. Or listen to the techno powerhouse XENOBEAT. Their song is called Diz.
Has begun.
fast-paced beats that'll rub you the right way, hopefully. You're listening to Check the Cock on EdenSynth. Woohoo! Yay!
I gotta ask, did headbanging along to that track make your neck ache? Because, yeah, we're not dishing out any donations for achy necks. Sorry, you're gonna have to rely on your crappy insurance. Anyway, so that was Diz by XENOBEAT. This is Gunplay by Vladislav Zharkov.